Hi, I'm Tim Norton, 2nd District County Commissioner, and welcome to A Word in Edgewise. Well, we've got a conversation piece today, and that's talking about elephants at the zoo. There's a huge project underway out at the zoo that we're talking about as commissioners, and I wanted to clear up some things today, so I've asked Scott Ochs, president of the Zoological Society, and the board, and Mark Reed, our zoo director, to come and talk with me today about elephants at the zoo and what their plans are. So I'd like to welcome Scott and Mark.
Thank you, Commissioner, for having us.
We had a great conversation today at the commission meeting and talked about what's happening at the zoo, and we all know everything is happening at the zoo. But elephants are really important right now. There's a huge project. There's been some fundraising efforts and certainly some design efforts, and that's pretty important to us right now. So, Scott, give us just a little briefing on where we're going with elephants.
Right. Sedgwick County Zoo and is a world-class zoo. That's always been our mission. We want to maintain it that way. The existing exhibit is 40 years old. Our 2 elephants have been with us close to 40 years. We're embarking on a $10.5 million project that would encompass about 5 acres, a holding facility that's big enough to hold up to 7 to 9 elephants. Probably won't start out with that many. And our goal is to have breeding elephants to help sustain the dangerous encroachment on the African elephant's territory in the wild.
I think we also need to add, also to help ensure that our children and grandchildren can come to the zoo many years from now and be able to see elephants. So there's no question these elephants are spokes critters for their wild brethren.
Well, I understand there's around 70 zoos that have elephants, but not all of them have breeding capabilities, and many of them may lose some of their elephants and capabilities in the future anyway. Is that correct, Mark?
That's correct, and many zoos were in a situation that we were, just had the 2 elephants, and they were paying attention to other things, and all of a sudden we're in an awareness of sustainability that we've got to breed if we're going to have these for our kids and their kids.
Some of the things that the AZA, which is the American Zoological Association, changed in the context of elephants. Explain that just a little bit.
Back in 2011, they adopted a set of standards to encourage the best welfare and management of elephants. Many components to it, but one of them was the fact that we needed to have elephants in family groups. We needed to have facilities that could hold bull elephants, and one of the requirements is that every zoo that has elephants be able to hold at least 3 elephants, and they could be a combination of 1 bull and two cows, or 3 bulls, or 3 females. But basically, elephants are going to be in matriarchal groups, and zoos in the long run will end up either just having bull elephants or a breeding group. And the society board voted many years ago they wanted to go with a breeding group of elephants, and that's where this has led us to now.
Well, Mark, the AZA accreditation is important, but is it that important? Why do we even participate? Why do we need to be a part of that?
Every major zoo, every major community in the United States, with the exception of one private zoo in Richmond, Virginia, is a member of AZA. And for us, it means many things, but directly to this community is the fact that if we were not a member, we would lose our female gorillas and some of the males from the Downing gorilla forest. We would lose our breeding male tiger and our young male tiger because they're not ours, they're on loan. So we wouldn't be breeding pure Amur tigers. We would not be breeding penguins in the Cessna Penguin Cove. We would not be breeding lions over in the Junior Lakes Pride of the Plains exhibit. And we wouldn't be getting this new orangutan coming in from Dortmund, Germany, in the Koch orangutan and chimpanzee habitat. And it has huge implications if we chose not to have an accredited zoo here in the community.
Well, it's one thing to be a zoo and just house some animals, and it's another thing to breed them. Not only is that a great attraction for young kids and families to have young animals in your zoo, but it does propagate species that are threatened.
And we do have a few that we've been able to, release back in the wild, but in many cases, it's sending that message with these animals. They're the spokes critters. for their wild brethren. That makes this easier for us to have an impact in conservation and in the field. And the live animals tell that story. And there's no question that number one tourist attraction state. It's multi-generational families coming together. They want to see the animals. They like seeing the animals. They like seeing baby animals.
Yeah. Scott, this is a big ticket item. Why now? And the Sedgwick County has a partnership for a long time, but this is a huge ticket item for the Zoological Society.
It is. It's by far, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, I think our most ambitious project in terms of dollars to date was roughly $6 million, and that was for the Downing Gorilla Forest. At the end of the day, these are big, majestic animals that need big spaces, and they're strong. If we put a bull elephant in our existing exhibit that's 40 years old, he would be literally out of it within hours. He would tear it apart. They are not mean-spirited. They're just that big, that playful, and that powerful.
Yeah. And you've done fundraising efforts. You've gone to the community. But at the end of the day, this facility will be owned by Sedgwick County and not owned by the Zoological Society. In fact, all the facilities and the grounds are owned by Sedgwick County.
That is correct.
So it's an investment that Sedgwick County will be in their own infrastructure, no different than roads and bridges and other things that we invest in. So.
And I think it should be noted that both sides have been great partners over the years. Why we have a world-class zoo is that in the last 15 years, in the ups and down times, the society has additionally funded huge major infrastructure repairs on county property, and this year we're doing a $2.9 million overhaul, of which $2 million of that's society money on the jungle roof. That I would have loved to seen gone towards this thing, but the jungle roof had to be done right, and society stepped up on that.
Yeah. Scott, we call this a barn, but it's so much more than that. It has a medical component to it, a feeding component, a habitat component, not just a cage. I mean, it is not a barn that you just house elephants in. It has much more in there, doesn't it?
That is correct. There will be viewing areas, there will be enrichment areas, obviously indoor holding when it's cold for the elephants. A very unique aspect of this for the nature and care of our elephants is actually, think of it as a big rotisserie where the elephant literally walks in, he's comfortably on his side and can eat and stay there for extended period of times while the veterinarians look at their feet, look at their teeth, do all kind of the medical exams, and then comfortably rotate them back out and they walk out of the exhibit.
Well, certainly the medical component is critical to this because, as I understand elephants, and I'm certainly no expert, but their legs and the weight bearing and their feet are so critically important to their health in general. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's true, and that's why this facility will be a sand-type mixture floor with drainage through, so they will not be on concrete, and a natural substrate. It's basically in the last 10 years, that's all that's been built on the new facilities. The other reason for the rotational thing Scott was talking about too is the keeper safety. It's a lot safer working with elephants in that situation, and so we're always concerned about elephant safety and public safety and our employees.
Well, I think people view elephants as cuddly and they herd and they're family oriented and they're gentle, and in many respects they are, but they're still very large animals that can hurt mankind if they so desire.
We've gone to a hands-off training system. We do not go in with the elephants anymore, and we know in the future, even though our two girls, Stephanie and Cinda, have never shown any aggression towards anybody, but not all of us are like that in the sheer size, and they discipline each other by pushing those trunks around and those tusks, and they're big.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, the bull elephant can weigh up to 14,000 pounds, and our females right now both weigh 7. So that'll give you some perspective of the size difference.
Put the two of them together, and you got a bull elephant.
Right.
So, well, as we talked today at the commission meeting, one of the things is the options we have, and some of them are not very good. I mean, obviously, keeping elephants, breeding elephants is maybe the best option. We could give up our zoological accreditation, but boy, does that limit us, Scott. Is that not the case?
That is the case, and as Mark commented earlier, the AZA is not some kind of government entity that tells us when and how to do things. It's a cooperative effort. We are members. Mark and I and Assistant Manager Ron Holt will be going to the AZA convention over this next weekend. We share ideas, we share thoughts, but the main thing is we share the animals. Without that accreditation, we would, as Mark said, we'd have to lose our lions, we'd have to lose a lot of our gorilla population. But what also fascinated me about the benefit of this is, we had a situation last year with one of our male tigers was gravely ill, and if you ever saw that old show House, where a bunch of smart people sit around the room and discuss options, we had veterinarians from Germany, Australia, Asia, all across the United States, video conferencing, sharing samples, sharing ideas on how to treat these animals. One of the things I always admire about every employee at Sedgwick County Zoo, who are Sedgwick County employees for the most part, is their dedication to their craft and their love of the species and love of their animals. And take that philosophy, and that's the AZA.
Yeah. Well, there's also another aspect that's beyond just animals, and that's the tourist attraction, the economic impact of our zoo. And every time we have a new display, a new exhibit, new animals, and birth of young, the numbers go up, and we become even a better tourist attraction, number one in the state, in fact.
That is correct.
Yep.
We've averaged 556,000 over the last 10 years, and this new facility will increase that average and those numbers going up.
And we peaked at over 700,000 one year?
Not quite, 654,000
Okay.
with the tigers, and we expect that we'll exceed that when we open this exhibit.
And that's a payback, because our statistics, and we track it very carefully through software, 40% of the visitors that come in are from outside Sedgwick County. So these people are not only spending their dollars at the Sedgwick County Zoo, they're filling up their car with gas, they're going to our shops and merchants, they're dining out before they leave home. So the economic impact that this zoo has, I look at this $5 million, and we're going to roughly raise the other $5 million, is really an investment in our community that does have measurable payback.
Yeah. Well, the fundraising will continue. Sedgwick County is going to hopefully backstop the barn, the elephant facility. But at this point, fundraising is still important. We'd urge the public, if they want to be involved, if there's large donors that want to step in. I know people get a little quirky when they think government is taking over things like this, but this has been a great public-private partnership for how many years now, Mark?
42 years that we've been open, and actually the partnership started before that in the master planning and the purchase of the land and everything. It goes back to about '66, so it's been a great partnership. And yes, the funding campaign will go on. We've got probably 30 ask out in various process, and then we'll go to the public campaign if this goes forward in October. So there'll be lots more out there and opportunities for people to help support the elephants.
Well, we've got a great facility, a great amenity for our community when you talk quality of life. How many species? We're one of the best in the nation with that, aren't we?
We've been averaging between the 13th and 17th largest collection by species and specimens. That's the type of animals, and then the actual number of animals if you count just mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians. And it's because of this public-private partnership. And we have over 3,000 animals at the zoo.
Well, that's pretty phenomenal, and we have to care for them. And we'd be diminished if we started saying we don't need elephants or giraffes or rhinoceroses or lions, tigers, bears. In Kansas, you can't just say we're not going to have lions and tigers and bears. Oh, my. Would that be awful?
Yes.
It really makes for a holistic zoo to bring people there and for families to enjoy and to learn about the science and nature of zoos. So, Final thoughts and comments, Scott. Well, I'll turn it to you and then to Mark, and we'll get out of here.
Absolutely. Just to kind of wrap this thing up, we know what we do it pretty well, and we stay with the consistent theme. Every exhibit we've ever built, we have built for breeding purposes. We build it for expansion because we know that's the most cost-effective way to build a facility. And you know, the philosophy is pretty simple: build it and they will come. The tourists will come. The zoo will grow. The community benefits.
And Scott, you're a volunteer.
Yes, I am. It's a passion.
Yeah, that's great. Mark?
We have a great zoo because of the county support, the society, the 1,000 volunteers we have, all the people that come, 18,000 household family memberships. I look at our zoo as a reflection of our community, and I'm very proud of the support that we've had, and I believe that this will be a wise investment if the county so chooses to become involved in this program, and I'm very excited about going forward with it, and we'll knock the socks off people when they come out.
Yep. Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Scott, for being here today to kind of talk about what's going on. You know, this is a very important project. I want the community to know the thought processes that are going into it and the hard work that's gone on for several years at the zoo board level and at the staff level to understand how important elephants are to our community and to the zoo and to our tourist attraction. And you know, it's all happening at the zoo. I do believe it. I do believe it's true. Thanks for watching today, A Word in Edgewise. I'm Commissioner Tim Norton. See you next time.